Welcome to MSP Unplugged podcast. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you are a one-person shop or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, my partner in crime, Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you? The heck are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, my friend. Doing great. Any better? It'd be Ascent.
Oh, I hear that. It's been definitely a long week so far. It's been a lot of things going on. Um, I think just really quick, while when this airs, we've already had passed the Super Summit that we are both a part of. Hopefully, those that had tuned in got a lot of great value from that event as well. I also was speaking here locally as well, over in Bourbonnais from a great company called BitLift and the Olivet Nazarene University. So appreciate them having me from there. But the show doesn't end there, folks. There's definitely a lot more coming as well. You will see me and Rick in the circuits here in the next couple months. Rick doesn't know it yet, but he will be updated later on some of the things that we'll be doing, and it's going to be a good time. But anything to kind of key off on the week real quick before we introduce one of my favorite guests of talking to, because we've had him on the past before on a Tech Talk Tuesday on his other business. But before we jump in, anything to share or anything interesting that's happened to you in the week?
Oh no, it's just been one of those weeks. Fourth quarter living, baby. Just trying to get it together.
Fourth quarter living. So if you haven't tuned in, you make sure you tune into that Tech Talk Tuesday. We will be highlighting fourth quarter living, what we mean about fourth quarter planning and jumping into the new year right. And you should be planning on that right now. But enough of all that. I want to go ahead and introduce again one of our favorite guests, one of the probably the most immersive and great conversations that we had. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Val King, now representing Ascent Portal. And he is the CEO of that company as well. Val, how are you today?
I am doing pretty darn fantastic. Thank you very much. Nice to see you both again, and hopefully you'll still be talking as kindly about me once we're done today. So looking forward to it.
I'm sure we will.
And for those who don't have not seen his episode before, if you go ahead over to the YouTube channel or on the audio, you look over for the Tech Talk Tuesday for White Hat Virtual Technologies. That is Val's MSP, as he's kind of explained how he adopted that cloud services and other items to really help just those considering it in their own practices. It was a great conversation, so I definitely implore you to take a look at it over there. But today, we are talking about what I think is a pretty cool product from what I've been seeing. You all were sponsors at the event that I was speaking at. I got to talk to Charlene Ignacio over at who handles a lot of the marketing, I believe, for you guys.
Correct.
And so, before we go into all of that, for those that may not have tuned into the episode, Val, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how Ascent Portal came to be?
Sure. Well, again, Val King. I fired up a MSP out of the ground now a little over 11 years ago, and primarily taking care of healthcare and financial services customers. And out of that, and we were doing a whole lot of desktop virtualization for customers. That was a specialty that we kind of showed up with, had that expertise long before the MSP space. But anyway, got here. So was CIO of a healthcare system for 7 years, CIO of a bank, a regional bank in Texas for 6 years, and part of that time with White Hat Virtual Technologies, the MSP, and then Ascent came along as we realized there was some exposure, both our customers and ourselves, related to security and compliance. So poof, Ascent was born. Now, 7 years later. Version 1.0 was a bunch of pre-printed Post-it notes stuck on a wall in a conference room. So fortunately, we've evolved a little since then. It's much easier when the cleaning lady comes through now that we're in software. And we're on our seventh version now, helping organizations and MSPs get a handle on governance, compliance, and what security products they need to put in place at their customers. So anyway, it was probably a longer answer than you wanted, but that's more or less how I came to be. So I got lots of roles and really enjoy these kinds of things, giving a chance to, I guess, educate and teach on what I know, and hopefully help people avoid some of the bear traps that I've stepped in over the course of time, getting to where I am, and learning from guys like you to hopefully dance around a few bear traps coming up.
That's awesome. No, I think that's very well suited on how to for us to kind of understand a little bit of kind of where you're coming from as we talk about Ascent. And so, you mentioned something very important that I think we're all now starting to be immersed in it. And this is a topic that I heard over the week was, you cannot provide IT support without having security in mind. Whatever acronym you want to go by, whether it's MSP, MSSP, etc., you have to start considering security in mind. There's no way around it. There are so many things that are coming up as far as regulations with industries such as the insurance industry that are kind of really making sure things are happening in a certain way because they're losing their shirt on a lot of their end users and everything in between. Rick, I know that you and I have talked a lot about this over the last several years. How are you battling that right now? I think we've all talked about adopting frameworks and things of that nature, but how are you, keeping that front of mind and educating your clients on doing that as well and making sure that you're keeping track of all that?
Well, it's it's just one of the things, like I said, we've been talking about it for years, and we've been working hard to implement it. Now, again, I think following a framework is important. I think also having a guide to help you is, the framework portion of it is good. Now, what Val's talking about is even more fits more into that box, right? The insurance companies are helping as well with having these requirements now. That is, I think we first looked at that as a hindrance, but I really think that is a positive for us as MSPs, right? Because these are the principles that we talk about all the time, that we talk about we want to have for our clients. So now insurance companies are just helping that process, right? So that makes it easier for us. And now what Val's talking about with Ascent Portal, and knowing where it needs to go where is just another step in that wall we're trying to build or trying to fill, basically.
And I'm curious on your thoughts, Val, on that, because obviously you creating this product, I'm curious on your thoughts of where the industry is right now. I think that we're at a point where things are starting to get taken more seriously. I think that, there's so much enforcement of some of these regulations that are occurring. There's deadlines that are looming for certain things like the implementation of CMMC and of 2.0 and how that reflects businesses that may not even have government work that apparently is through that chain of their client of their client, et cetera. And now they're deemed in that body that they have to prove of that, or they're losing funding and things of that nature. Just curious on, from you, seeing what's going on and how it sounds like you said it's the 7th iteration of Ascent, how has it, evolved over time because of what you've seen in the industry?
Sure. I mean, I could go about 50 different directions, so I'll try to keep this tailored because we got a very limited amount of time. So look, if you're taking care of a traditionally regulated customers, healthcare, financial services, as just a couple of examples, or government contractors, or companies that are working with public companies, after the Target breach, it became important for those public companies to now push compliance on their subcontractors, people building their retail facilities or what have you. But I guess I want to take a step back and get to how we got here, right? As an MSP, we had a client who had really no security controls in place, but as the services provider, they were assigning all that responsibility to us. So that whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Now I'm on the hook, and you got nothing. No. So it started as a CYA exercise long before there was an Ascent. It was CYA, right? That was the first version, because we realized we needed to protect ourselves and protect our customer. But as an MSP, I mean, where do you start? I was told there's some 1,900 security products that are in and around the MSP industry from various vendors. I mean, if you're an MSP, how do you even figure out where to start and what to do and how do I do it? And is that another FTE and what product stack? And then how do I manage all these products? And then how do I sell it? I'm already having a probably hard enough time selling my MSP services. I mean, all of that just sounds scary and sounds like a great time to take an exit, right? Oof, I'm out of here. we wanted to make this really, really simple. So I would say, yes, the water is rising. If you do not offer security services, then you are going to get mowed over by somebody who does. And what I mean by that is now, like for our MSP, we require our customers to have cybersecurity insurance. Why? Because we have cybersecurity insurance. And if there is a breach, who are they going to go after? They're going to go after the deep pockets, and the deep pockets is always the insurance carrier. So I don't want to take a lawsuit and be on the hook for something more than my customer is, right? I mean, you don't want to breach, but if it gets to it, you want cybersecurity insurance to be a backstop. So as a services provider, if your customers don't have insurance, they need insurance, and you probably need the requirement. I'm not an attorney, nor do I pretend to be one on TV, but that would be something that I would look at to make sure that your customers have that backstop in place. Now, if they have that backstop in place, to actually have a cybersecurity policy paid, mind you, this is anybody. This is any organization out there. The security industry requires there's about 140 different groups, but anyway, they typically require today between 6 and 13 controls for each individual carrier in terms of what they require of their customer. And this is the part, so that is multi-factor authentication, that is anti-phishing training, that's firewalls. There's again a list, but give or take, that is required of the policyholder. So what's happening today? You're gonna get some sort of application handed to you from your customer for the cybersecurity insurance policy. Please fill this thing out, right? We don't know half of this stuff because it's all half of it's IT stuff. So, and it's going to ask, do you have multi-factor authentication in place? Do you have any phishing training in place? Do you have firewalls in place? And they're going to hand that to you. So, the bare minimum, you can look at it as the bare minimum of doing business is having this layer of security in place. Forget the high end and 200 controls and framework and NIST and ISO and la that's going to make your head explode. Let's just talk about doing 13 things. And so somewhere between 6 and 13 things you need to do as a business if you want to have a cybersecurity policy back you up if there's a breach. Because here's what that looks like. You fill out your application. Do you have multi-factor? Yes, we do. Okay, and then you take a breach, you file a claim, and they look at it and say, we don't see multi-factor in place when you took the breach. So they write down the claim or they don't pay the claim. And now your backstop is no good. And by the way, you're not getting your premium back. So you owe your customer a service to pull their cybersecurity policy and review what they signed up for. Because they signed up for something. It's not 1 or 2 carriers, it's all of them. And the reason is, and I'll cover this very, very quickly because I want to get back to more important topics, but they were losing their shorts as insurance carriers. So they used to write these policies in 2015, just like on the back of a napkin, and laugh at you and take your premium. But then claims started backing up, and in 2020, they were the top 20 were largely upside down in terms of profit, and we all need a profit, even an insurance company. So the rates went up about 78% in 2020, coming out of 2020, and then another 28% the year after, because how this was kind of sold is, well, I got cybersecurity insurance. Why do I need all this security stuff for? And the insurance industry is like, whoa, wait a minute. No. We're your backstop. We're not your first line of defense. We're your last line of defense. So the premiums got ratcheted up because they needed the customers to have better hygiene from a security standpoint. So now, if you want a good rate, you need to have these pieces in place. And for that matter, if you want a policy. So that's a start. Now, as an MSP, that's a little scary in that, this is 13 new things I got to figure out or I got to work out. It's probably like if you've got M365 in the environment, which most do, then there's a multi-factor solution there that you can tack on. So some of this is just incremental growth in what you've already got. But effectively, looking at their cybersecurity policy, it's not their MSP saying you need to do these things. This is, you want your cybersecurity insurance to work? Then here's the things you've agreed to, and we need to figure out how to do them for your organization. So by definition, every MSP is an MSSP or is in the security space. Now it's a matter if you want to acknowledge it, embrace it, and grow and get project pull through as part of that, or if you're going to let let your customer go and just leave this gap or hand it to somebody else.
What's
I'll take
so
it
huge
back.
about that is what you just said, is that it's amazing on how, and we were literally just talking about it this week, is that how much of the foundational things to take care of are so oversought. Everyone wants to look at these, like you said, the ISOs and et cetera, and they're trying to get to the 200 controls. But have you even checked if MFA is enabled? Have you even checked to
Right.
see, is there a good, the security awareness plan, a security awareness training that you deploy to your clients? Is there shared responsibility to make sure that's being upkeep? Have you gone in and talked to your clients and, hey, have you done a phishing campaign just to have the results and document it to prove you're doing what you're doing? There was a stat that I heard while I'm talking about the MFA, that Microsoft 365 did an audit, I think it was a couple of years ago, and only 10% of the accounts had MFA enabled. So that's insane.
Yeah,
On the
exactly.
matter of going through all that and just the amount of just shifting all that. But what I want to do is I want to kind of bring it back and just understand that, for those that, like you just mentioned, where do they start? Like, because there are those that may have been either trying to keep up with everything that's going
Right.
on and they're trying to take on security, or are they trying to just stay relevant and just understand because things are changing so much? Is Ascent a way for them to maybe adhere to something, and then now it'll allow them to really understand what they should really be taking seriously and helping monitor that for their clients?
Yeah, I'm certainly more than a little biased, but I would say yes, because we've used this ourselves, right? This has been a secret
Hmm.
squirrel tool of our own for a number
Sure.
of years. So yes, and real quickly to the other point, I mean, now accountants have to be in compliance with Sarbanes-Oxley and have to have a written information security program, where before that was financial services companies. If you're
Mm.
representing card dealers have to be CMMC compliant now.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Hmm.
don't, I don't know how the heck that happened, but they do. So
Yep.
it's coming to your customers, so get ahead of it.
Right.
So what the heck does Ascent do, and how does it help any of this, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so one, Ascent is designed because, like me, who wants to do compliance? And I'm going to go with nobody. And there's probably a few people out there who's like, no, no, me, but no, most of us don't. Most of these MSPs, everybody working in them has 2 or 3 or 20 hats on. So I don't need an FTE to manage the security stack. What do I tell my customer to buy? How do I keep track of what they're doing? I don't have a tool for that. That's not my PSA tool. That's not anywhere. All this sounds like more money. Okay, so here was my mindset, right? Just this straightforward coming at it from a service provider perspective. One, needed to be something that was very simple, which Ascent is. In less than 3 clicks or 3 minutes, you can see anything going on in the portal. Now, what the heck does this thing do, right? This would, once you review the cybersecurity insurance policy, you figure out the 6 or 13 things that need to be in place. It lets you track those, track them in real time, assign those controls to either your team or to your client's team with some accountability, because your customer never wants to own anything on the security side, right?
Right.
That's an IT problem. Well, there are things that are line of business problems, and then let you lay that out over a calendar to make sure that in real time they're doing those controls. You can see them, you can audit them, and the score goes up when you do something new. The score goes down if something falls off, and you can see again in under 3 minutes, because I do it all the time, what happened, why did my score go up, what new control got in place. Oh, we put multi-factor in place, great, my score is going to go up. And then, oh, multi-factor fell off because I didn't validate it with an asset. In other words, pulling data directly from Microsoft 365 or one of your other tools, which we do that integration work for you. So MSP's not, oh, I got to go do that. No, if we can have systems providing answers, we do. So at the end of the
Mm.
day, which I've not done a great job describing it, it is a way to take any security requirement your customer has, custom or standard. If they need to be HIPAA, high tech, high trust, FFIEC, whatever, or I just need to be in compliance with my cybersecurity policy. I'm not looking for anything fancy. It helps them identify those things, give them a place to track it, put those controls in place to collect assets. And when you hear assets, just think proof. Do you have MFA in place? Yes. Okay, well, where's your proof? That's an asset that you upload or we take from a system, and you see exactly what needs to be done. Now, this is your roadmap to figure out what projects need to be in place. Do they have any phishing training in place? No. Then the answer to that control is no. Is that in line with their cybersecurity policy? No. Then you need to put it in place. So there's project pull through, and you get revenue from this. So this is Ascent is a tool for them to drive incremental revenue for governance and compliance. It is going to pull through security products. It's going to help them clear the noise with their customer to figure out what security products do I buy. And is that just you, Paco? You're just telling me I need to buy this thing, or you, Rick? No, this is just your pet thing. No, this is your cyber policy. This is your compliance requirement that's driving this. We're just the messenger, and we can do that work to get that in place. Now, for an MSP, if they have the professional services, so we on the Ascent side, if they can identify the customers, we will help them land their customers and have those conversations so they don't have to risk looking stupid. I mean, I say it all the time. I can make myself look stupid. I don't need a vendor's help, right? So we will participate in those calls with them to figure out who is a good fit and get them on board with Ascent. And then back-ended, if they need ISO services. Now, look, no MSP is making money on stuff, right? Really, everything it's services. So, but we can provide those services to help those customers do the analysis of a cyber policy or figure out what framework they need to be in compliance with on behalf of that services provider. So we can do all that heavy lifting in the near term until they can develop the strength and the muscle to stand on their own and pull those services dollars back in house, which is absolutely our intent, is to not be another one of those tools that takes money off the bottom line and gives you nothing on the top line, and you got to figure out how to make it work in the middle. So ideally, something that you can put in place for every customer, and it happens to be very inexpensive. It's about $50 per active user per month. It's about 60% less than the majority of the competition, because I don't have to buy a house with every one of these. The idea is to get something in place that if you get one customer, you're paying for yourself and you're paying for your own journey to get right before your customer shows up and says, what cybersecurity frameworks do you have? A SOC 2? What do you have, right? Well, you've got a way to track that and get yourself right. You've got a way to drive revenue off of one of these tools directly. And then you've got support around you to be successful, and then help you figure out what security products you need to put in place. Like, that's where I would focus. What cyber policies do my customers have? What compliance requirements? Then we can help them. Either they can do it on their own, or we can help them work out that roadmap of what security products do you need to put in place. Do you need to partner with an MSSP who's got, a SOC solution, or what do I need to do, right? And just remove all of the fog. So you make revenue. It's a simple product. You have support on both sides that cost you exactly the low price and nothing. And you've got a way, you've got a roadmap to figure out how to get into the MSSP space or to cover the security side so you still remain relevant. I mean, in 1980, we didn't need antivirus software until we did. Now we need some level of governance, risk, and compliance, and we need a simple way for MSPs to do it. And that's exactly what Ascent is built to do. And I know it works because we did it ourselves, right? I mean, it's just now, I guess for the last year or so, we've really pushed it out into the free world. But I mean, that's it. It was simplifying our own lives, and I think it's finally grown up enough that we're ready to help other service providers figure it out. And
that's a great point.
Go
ahead, Rick.
No, I'm sorry. I was just thinking something you said, it really clicked in my mind. One of the most precious commodities MSP have is time, right? We don't have, depending on what we're doing, there's so many things to be, see to know, right? To be perceptive of, to know what's going on. What you're talking about again is now we have to know what needs to be in place to satisfy what, right? And what you're offering saves us some of that time, saves us some of that, research time, knowledge time, people time to have to basically go and know where all of these pieces need to fit. And I think that's important because depending on the size of an MSP, who you're serving, you may not have that first and foremost. You may not have that commodity available to you of time I'm talking about. So that's the first thing I'm thinking about. And the second thing I'm thinking is, if we don't do these things, some other MSP is going to be doing them.
Yes.
And that is going to take your customer from you, right? I've heard of this happening when a customer goes to a MSP and says, "Hey, I have this insurance form. Can you fill it out?" And 10 of the 12 questions they're not doing, the insurance company will give you another MSP to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then this business gone, right there. So I just think that the fact that the knowledge part, we all should know what we're doing, but having a tool to help us figure out the direction and point us where we need to go is extremely important, because again, depending on your size, depending on your level of expertise, this could be a really tedious task.
Oh, it is a tedious task. Having lived it, yes, it's fairly awful to miserable if you don't have some level of guide. Look, for everybody who's watching. I mean, if I'm going to distill it to its barest essentials, it's probably going to cost you $100 a month to get yourself right. That's a couple of people working, uploading controls and everything else. We don't charge for integration. So if you want to integrate Rapid7, you want to integrate M365, those integrations are free. You've got some, whatever the custom frameworks are, or the standard frameworks your customers use. We don't charge by that. That's it. It's $50, $100. If you're an MSP, if you're a huge, MSP or large one that's got full compliance department and tools in place, great. But this is designed to help you. It is multi-tenant. See all your customers, see where you need to be. Should be inexpensive. You should be able to make money on your first customer, if not your second customer. And then I'm going to wrap all the services around it to help you land your customer. And then I'm going to wrap the services around you so you can deliver them until you can figure it out yourself. And then you got a roadmap. So I don't know what else you need. And if you do need something else, then ask, because it's probably something other services providers need as well. And if we can incorporate it, we will. The idea is, again, not to buy a house on every one of these we sell. It is to help MSPs survive the rising water level and figure out how to do this successfully in a way that a 2-man, 5-man, 50-man MSP can figure out how to work out and be a guide for them. That's it. And then if you don't like it, then the exit the platform. I don't want this to be shelfware. I don't want this to be one of those super cool things you bought that you never got any use out of. That's all convoluted. It's just that simple. That's really what we're looking for.
Now, Val, we've talked about how just that white glove approach and understanding how to, for those that don't know or they're trying to find the guidance, and it sounds like you have well equipped those processes and people to help them. And for someone who wants to join on into the product and the services, how long does it take from demo to signing up to them hitting the ground running? How long do you think that time frame usually is?
That can be as short as a few days. I would say typically it's 2 weeks. Go through a demo, some round of questions. Then you get the second step, which is the whatabouts for whatever's unique in their world. And then after that, we get them signed up. We've got 2 paths. There's a referral path, and then a full channel partner path, which is already built out and developed. And we've got training materials we're building behind that to help them. But you can just throw a name over the wall effectively as a referral partner, or sign up and take down revenue directly and resell it. And it's, again, multi-tenant, so that if you've got a customer with a bunch of subsidiaries that have different compliance requirements, or just stacks of customers, it's designed to accommodate. So that's all there is. It takes it's the documentation itself, a couple hours, you're done. And by the time we're within 2 weeks, we should be scheduling calls and talking to customers together. If you want us to, and if you want to run it all yourself, great, not hurting our feelings. But again, we want to put everything in place to make you successful. And we also have a clause in there that we're not snaking your customers, right? We'll give you all your money back from whenever you signed up with us if we take one. because that was, well, nope, these are tough to get. I don't want to lose them. I get it. And I would,
Yeah.
so that's why we put that in there, is because that's what I would want working with a partner. So we're here to help. And so again, I'd say 2 weeks, you should be up and running with everything that you need to be armed and dangerous, and starting to have appointments, and us having some good conversations together.
Awesome. Well, now, Val, we're here toward the end of the episode here. I want to make sure that we've highlighted everything in regarding to Ascent. And for those who are interested, is there any lasting words or anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure our audience hears? And most importantly, how can they reach out to you / know more about the products and service over at Ascent?
Sure. Well, Ascent-portal.com is the place to go. You can sign up for a phone call, eval, right there. We for service providers that want to figure it out, there's a 30-day trial. You can go there, sign up for a trial. Cost you the low price of nothing as well. We'll be happy to engage with you and kind of walk you through it, so that you got a handle on it. It shouldn't be that complex, but if this is net new, I get it. That's a little uncomfortable, and if you show up knowing nothing, that's great. That's where I expect you to start. So anything else is a bonus. But give them a 30-day free trial. Just go in there, sign it up. Just put in the comments somewhere that you heard about it from ProdigyTeks or from Rick and company, and we'll be happy to make sure you get the discount. I'll make sure I don't skip Paco's.
How about just use MSP Unplugged? That might make it easier.
Yeah. Okay. MSP Unplugged. You put in your grandma's name. I'm good. We'll make sure we take care of you and get you set up. So I would say that's important. And I would say, I just want to reiterate that it's not if your customer needs to meet some sort of security requirement or compliance requirement. It is they have to, and I don't want you to get mashed. And I don't want you to get run over with some other MSP who has worked it out, right? This is a very simple, very inexpensive way that we have come up with to help bridge that gap, to get you from this side of the river to the other side of the river, and in slow baby steps to figure out what needs to get done. So take advantage of it. It's not going to get less expensive. And we have some interesting partnerships and everything coming up that will be unveiled in Q4, and our own, making sure we close Q4 strong. So there's some pieces there we're working on that I think MSPs they'll see more of us other places, but take advantage of it. If you're concerned, if you don't have your security boat tight, you're not sure what you need to be doing, make the phone call. Let's have a conversation. If Ascent's a fit, great. If it's not a fit, you're not going to break my heart. That's fine. But let's make sure we get you in the right place. But I think more often than not, it'll be a good fit for them.
Awesome. Rick, any lasting words before we go ahead and end off the show here?
Well, Val, I do want to thank you again for your time. I think another great conversation. I do want to say to everyone out there, what we're talking about here is, we need to have, and I had a conversation, I've talked about this a couple of times. I won't make this long, but, I've had a conversation with several MSPs since we've had TechCon, talking about their stack, talking about what direction they need to go in. And the one thing I keep emphasizing is something we've talked about here. You have to put in place the minimum, your minimum standards has to be what an insurance company is going to expect, or, at least enough to cover, cover your bases. And I say that, and one of the things we always skimp on, I think, and I'll use this as an example all the time, is security awareness training. I think it's extremely important to do that, phishing training, security awareness training, which is something we all sometimes consider an add-on. But again, just to go back, we need a baseline, and that should be at minimum, look at what one of your customers is giving you as an insurance to fill out. And that has to be where you start.
I agree. Look at your cybersecurity policies, look at what those requirements are, and that needs to be in your base tier of cybersecurity, that your base cybersecurity tier. You can figure out if you want to do that as an incremental add-on. I would just bolt it on to your standard MSP package and say that in the meeting that your cybersecurity carrier is going to require at least 6 of these things, 6 to 13. Let's take a look. But I would put that in the base tier and call it done. And if you need help figuring that out, we'll be happy to talk about that as well. I mean, I'm not a representative for any of those other products, but just figuring out how to step through that, happy to help if we can.
Awesome. So perfect. Yes, Val, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and just talking a lot about Ascent. And for those of you listening in, as we've talked about plenty of times, and I think this may be even the theme or the title of the show, if you're not taking security seriously, you will get mowed down by someone else that will. So for those that are listening, thank you again. If you like what you hear, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch us on the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and you'll be notified whenever a new episode will be available. But you can also take us with you on the go on your favorite podcatcher app. We are on Amazon Music, Spotify, and of course, Apple Podcasts. If you feel so indulgent to us, we would love for you to leave a review on that podcast. It helps us get found by other like-minded business owners just like yourself. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.